Went on to Amazon this morning looking for a new flag, perhaps, a flag with a 51st star. There is conversation in the nation's beltway about the District of Columbia joining us as the ranks of statehood befalls upon us. Greg Clugston is with us. Greg is the SRN News White House correspondent. He himself works regularly in the District of Columbia. Greg, this is hot news. How are you today?
Hi, John. Hi, Kathy. Yeah, this is an idea that's been floating around the nation's capital for a long time, and it never has really gotten any traction. But now you've got Democrats, especially in the House side, but all through in the Congress, really thinking about this as a strong possibility. So there is a push now, concerted push by Democrats to move in this direction. Not surprisingly, Republicans, for a couple of different reasons, are opposed to this. It's the whole idea of the district being a separate, entity, jurisdiction, because of it's the home to the nation's capital. But Democrats will say, look, you've got tax-paying American citizens who live in the District of Columbia, and they have no representation in Congress. There is a representative, but it's a non-voting representative. And also Republicans, you guys, they'll say that this is just an effort by Democrats to add on to their Democratic slim majority in the House right now, because it's only 10 votes, 10 members.
So right. What does the non-voting representative do? I mean, what's that like? He just kind of hangs out and eats snacks?
It's a little more involved than that. But Eleanor Holmes Norton has been the representative for D.C. for years and years. Really? She does sit on committees. But when it comes to her actual participation, it's not there in terms of representing the citizens of D.C.
Okay, so if this were to pass, well, first of all, we know that the Democrats are in favor of it because there are more Democrats that live inside the Beltway, and it would be the same thing if it were Republicans, right? This isn't advanced math we're working with. But right. My question is, would it change your outlook, Greg, going to work every day thinking, wow, all of a sudden taxation without representation is a thing of the past here?
Well, it would be interesting because we haven't known it any other way. So it would be a big change that way. I don't know beyond, the actual representation in Congress. I don't know what the other tangible effects might be. I haven't delved into the issue, deeply enough. I'm sure there possibly are some other benefits and tangibles there. But for those of us who live outside of the district or outside the Beltway and go inside to work, day to day, it would probably be a lot the same, of course, but it would be a very interesting change. And then John, as he mentioned, would have to, of course, find a new flag.
Right. Now, wait, let me break in and say, what if the Democrats don't get this? Like, what's their recourse? Would they throw tea in the Potomac or something like that?
No, well, that would be a nod to history, of course. What's interesting is you probably it has a much better chance, as a lot of these measures and bills do, of passage in the House, given the Democratic majority now. 50-50 Senate, it's anybody's guess, and it's probably a little still on the unlikely side.
Got it.
Unlikely. That's good. That's a good final word. All right, Greg, take us to the border, please, because as President Trump was having his border protocol, his rules for the border, now with the new administration, there's a gigantic surge forward. It looks as though they're going to put people in hotel rooms because there's such a gigantic surge. It's a mess, quite honestly, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot has not changed for the better since we talked about this a week ago, last Monday. And the administration says it's on top of the problem and the challenges that the administration is being faced with in terms of the surge at the border, especially when it comes to the unaccompanied minors, because the United States under the Biden administration is not turning away any unaccompanied minors. And so it's the housing of these young people then who are traveling alone that's causing the real problem, because as the White House has been emphasizing, most, not all, but most everybody else who is traveling as an adult individual or as families or larger groups, they are being turned back. But for those who are being allowed to come across the border, it's a real housing issue of where to shelter them and process their claims and moving forward. Now, the White House has been repeatedly asked, why is this not described as a crisis? The Federal Emergency Management Agency has been dispatched to the border to assist with Border Patrol and other entities. But the White House still refuses to call it a crisis, calls it a problem, calls it a challenge, but not a crisis.
That's politics for you. We're talking to Greg Clugston, SRN News White House correspondent. If you'd like to watch the show, you can log on to Facebook right now and go to the Ride Home with John and Kathy or 101.5 Word FM. You can watch the show and see Greg for yourself. He doesn't look alarmed at the 51st, the potential of the 51st state. He looks very calm, I have to say. All right. So speaking of calm, there wasn't a whole lot of it when President Trump was in office and he had his news conferences. There was a lot going on, a lot of theatrics. So President Biden this Thursday has his first. What do you think we can expect?
Well, it'll be, as you mentioned, Kathy, the very first one, a formal setting. He's taken just a handful of questions, usually just, one or two at a time at the end of an event, sometimes when he's leaving and going into the White House. But this, we'll have to see, first of all, how many questions he'll take, if he'll have a lengthy opening statement, what the overall length of the event will be. It's coming up on Thursday. And what's interesting is this president, in the opening 2 months of his administration, everything has been very closely managed in terms of his access and public availability, not just to the press, but to the public generally as well. Obviously, every White House will choreograph and manage to a certain degree, but it's been quite striking, I think, with Joe Biden. And it's no surprise that on the campaign trail and throughout his political career, he's often made some gaffes and got stumbling around with answers and then got off track. And so this has been a very disciplined effort by, I think, the communications team at the White House to keep him, very, out in the public in a very sort of modest way at the beginning of the administration, and allowing the COVID message, the relief package, the stimulus, and all the rest to really, to be the absolute focus of this administration. So I would expect that he will continue to talk about the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also tout the fact that, the $1.9 trillion relief package was passed and that stimulus checks are still going out to millions of Americans. And then we'll see how he does in the Q&A.
I see. So the key word here, I think you're saying, Craig, is choreographed, right? This is things are very carefully planned. There's not going to be a lot of improvisation. And as you bring up the press conference, I want to ask about the State of the Union. What do you know about that?
Well, we keep asking about that, and we don't really know anything yet. The thinking was early on that the State of the Union would be scheduled once the COVID-19 relief package was passed Congress and got that priority out of the way for the White House. But obviously, that's been a couple of weeks now. We've heard nothing more specific about the State of the Union address, obviously because of health considerations, the venue and the spacing and all of the rest in terms of social distance. That, I think, is probably a logistical hangup that's causing the delay.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the former president and social media. Famously, he was tossed off of Twitter. I don't remember him being tossed off of Facebook. We didn't use it very much anyway. So the former president striking back. Talk about his plan, Greg.
Well, one of his close advisors was on Fox News yesterday and announced that Donald Trump plans to reemerge in social media in some way, some fashion, within the next 2 to 3 months, and is likely going to be having his own platform. And Jason Miller was describing this as it's going to be sort of a breakthrough, and it's going to be, attention grabbing and all the rest. Obviously, because of Donald Trump and the fact that he had so many tens of millions of followers on his Twitter account, there is going to be a lot of interest in what he does because, Kathy, as you say, he was famously or infamously kicked off Twitter in the first place, and he has not had a platform like that since. He's been able to release some statements by email from his official office as former president, but they don't lack the immediate punch that he really likes with social media. So beyond that, we don't know a lot of details, and we'll have to wait a few more weeks, but it'll be very interesting to see what the platform looks like and what the response to it is.
So it's a different platform. It's like it'll be his own platform?
That's what Jason Miller said, and again, he was very short on the details. So it sounds like it may be something new, but again, we'll have to wait and see.
Right. I mean, say what you will. You know, the president said this famously, years ago, that when he leaves the public arena, the ratings will go down and whatnot. And clearly, you can see that's happened, right? Whether it's, cable television, of course, on Twitter and whatnot. I'm sure, there was a lot of drive there from the former president. So when he comes back, you'll see things will light up again, for better or worse.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. And the fact that he is still viewed by so many Republican voters across the country as their current choice for a candidate running in 2024. Obviously, there's a lot of time between now and then, but he is still a major political force, especially within the GOP, but certainly within our national politics. And so, he's not going away anytime soon.
Mm. All right, Greg. Well, time's up, and there's more things to talk about, but sadly, not enough minutes to do it in. So that's Greg.
Are you traveling tomorrow, Greg?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Are you traveling to Ohio tomorrow, Greg?
I am. President Biden is going to Columbus, Ohio tomorrow in the afternoon. He'll be again sort of out on the road touting the impact of this COVID relief package, and specifically its healthcare provisions and the help that it's going to be offering a lot of Americans, because it's also the anniversary of Obamacare. So it's an interesting trip tomorrow, and I'll be along for the ride.
Fabulous.
The president never stops campaigning, right?
No. I mean, that's really
always a politician. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be very interesting to be on that road, Greg, to see you out there and see the events unfold. So congratulations on that. It's a fascinating slice you get to witness.
Yeah, thanks. It's my first trip outside of D.C. with President Biden, so I'll see how it compares with previous presidents.
Fabulous. Well, certainly. You'll be in our thoughts. Greg Clugston, SRN News White House correspondent, as he travels the trail of history with President Biden and the team tomorrow.